Hey, Joe Messino's coming on.
All
Good
right.
morning, everybody, and welcome to the Weiner Wellness Virtual Summit. We are live again. It's Monday morning. I'm so excited to be here. I have Dr. Orbach from the Weiner Wellness Center with me, and also Joe Messino, who is here. Today, we're going to be talking about highlights from Saturday, which was incredible. And I loved every lecture. I watched them all. Also, who's coming up today? And I know that Dr. Orbach has a few tips and tricks for us, just as a little bonus on hiatal hernias. And I know we want to honor Dr. Weiner, who pioneered all this. Just such a great man, such a great legacy. So, good morning, everybody. How is the virtual summit going for you, Dr. Orbach?
So far, it's going really well. I mean, we had a good day on Saturday. I didn't get a chance yesterday to watch Judy Miskowitz's lectures. I mean, every day I jot down my things to do list and leave it on my desk at home. And go to work is always seems to be number one on the list.
You
And
gotta put a little string around your finger so you remember that
right. And
list.
so I have watch lectures from Saturday highlighted and starred and list just that, it's been piled up. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you had to say. It's really a big deal for us to be able to have speakers of that caliber, people with international platforms, talking on our wellness Zoom virtual summits. So
And
I'm
also
looking
a
forward to,
testament to your growth and
yeah,
to your
yeah.
impact. I mean, you guys have a far reach now on this virtual platform, and many people have gotten to know you. And I mean, Dr. Honigman started us off, great lecture. He's
Hmm.
always so precise and detailed, and that's what I love. He
Hmm.
gives the science, and like Jamie says, he's alphabet soup, has all these initials after his name and all these designations. And I mean, that's you guys do
He's a
not pale
very
in
smart man.
comparison. That's what I'm
He's a
trying to
very,
say.
very smart man. And it's not just, I mean, it's not just clinical science, but like when you talk to him and like he goes for walks through the park and just that's his calm Zen moment. And he knows, I mean, he knows about nature. He really knows about nature. And I mean, I don't really like to talk politics with anybody. That's my inner dialogue. But occasionally he'll drop a little tidbit of wisdom. I mean, not partisan politics, but certainly how did you see how this happened and it impacts that and something else happened because of the original cause and effect.
Yeah,
So he's a really smart guy. Super smart
absolutely.
guy. Yeah.
Morning, Joe. Are you going to unmute? You got to unmute for us.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I was, a while back, Jamie asked everybody what their morning routine was, and and mine is kind of simple, and Dr. Orbach's part of it. So I thought I'd bring it up. I can summarize it in a couple of words: espresso, sauna, push-ups, and back stretches with my foam roller that Doc told me to get a couple of years ago. And it's still part of my morning routine, Doc. So I wanted to come on and share that because Doc, he always has these little things that go beyond chiropractic. And it's like his workshops with neurology and breathing and everything is just great. So I wanted to, that's my morning routine. And Doc, you're a part of it.
I'm
Thinks of you
honored.
every morning, Dr. Orbach.
I'm honored. I mean, and what was it? I used to adjust you like frequently, and then you started foam rollering, and
Yeah.
now you're like just in lesson need. So
Yeah.
I'm all
Yeah.
about sabotaging the business, I suppose, for the greater good.
That's
So
for sure.
speaking of that, I wanted to highlight a few of the lectures from Saturday. And I'll start with you, Joe. Any favorites? I know where you're going, but
Well, look, Dr. Hahnemann, I got some screenshots from him.
Mhm.
Dr. O, I always listen to his words of wisdom. And Candace had a great presentation, but I think there's nothing that tops Judy. And Doc, you got to get to that. You got to see that at your
Of course.
earliest convenience. But you're going to need a couple hours
Right.
because she took
Tracy
her
didn't
hour.
even get to speak.
Yeah, Tracey gave up her hour for it, but they were having a discussion, so it was really more of a discussion than anything in the second hour, especially. And, I've been following Judy for months now. And this was just, I don't know, so much information out of this one person. She's what she's been through, how the sacrifices, Doc, if he was here, would have been, just ecstatic. He was probably already, yeah, they'd be best friends, and he'd have her living at his house over in Pittsburgh there, because he has had so many rooms. And if they were homeless for a while, like she said, he would have taken her in. He would have taken her in. But my God, I got so much information. I followed her and watched her all these months, and yet I got so much new information from her on Saturday. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And she took out a lot of slides on that PowerPoint because it was just so in depth. And, basically she was talking about the xenotransplantation of, how infection happens. And she can really support what she says with the research and, of course, experience, and obviously her educational background. And it was quite a story. So if anyone missed that, it has almost 4,000 views already.
Wow.
I cut down some little clips of it and put it on my page just because it was just so much information. I was trying to pull highlights out of it. And even for me, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go back this and watch this 5 or 6 times. So great to talk to her. And I got an opportunity to talk to her afterwards. And she's just really such a vessel of knowledge. But, I have to also give kudos to Candace. Her presentation was really good. It was the gut-brain connection, and I talk about that a lot. You know me, I'm a huge fan of probiotics. She went through the strains, she went through what they did. Really great presentation for people that need to understand how important it is to take care of your digestive system, how much it affects the brain, and how important it is. And I know Dr. Orbach can probably speak on this as well. Just that gut-brain connection, because it does matter, don't you think, Dr. O, that what you think will actually determine, the digestion, and what you eat determines what you think.
So true. And we lose somewhere in the conversation thread, one of the things that we don't talk about enough is the way that the neurotransmitters are formed in the digestive tract. And these are the chemicals that the brain uses to communicate with itself and with the rest of the body. So when you think digestive tract, like, well, do I have an upset stomach? Am I digesting my food? Do I have regular bowel movements? Am my digestive tract healthy? But there's so many layers beyond that about so many different essential physiological processes that occur in the digestive tract or take their origin in the digestive tract. So we can't hammer that message home hard enough. I've really become a big fan of Candace. I mean, she started with us as an intern. I remember her scurrying about the building with a clipboard, creating the illusion of looking busy and none of us knowing who she was or what she was doing. And now she's progressed to the point where she's making presentations on a platform with somebody of Judy Miskowicz's caliber. So she's come a long way, and she's done really well for you guys too. So yeah, you're right. I'm glad you mentioned digestion.
So somebody, you had mentioned earlier, you were going to tell us a little bit about hiatal hernias. How does that tie in?
Yeah, well, this is actually a request from a patient who liked the way I explained this and wanted to hear it again. So I'm for HIPAA reasons, I'm not going to state name, but I hope you're listening. If you think about your digestive tract, it's a tube from the back of your mouth where it has a name. It's called the esophagus. The esophagus travels down through the area of the chest where the heart and lungs live. It pierces through the diaphragm muscle. The diaphragm muscle has a very specific hole in it that is intended for the esophagus to pierce through. It's called the hiatus of the diaphragm. Right below that hiatus, we have what's called the lower esophageal sphincter muscle. And that muscle is essentially a one-way valve. And below the esophageal sphincter muscle, the same tube changes names and it becomes the stomach. So the stomach is this little bag full of acid, and it vibrates or it's churning. So if you put food or pills or drink in your mouth or whatever you're going to swallow, the item that you're swallowing is going to travel down through the esophagus, down below, passing by the lower esophageal sphincter muscle and into the stomach. And the stomach is basically going to shake up your pills and your food, bathing it in acid, turning these small little particles even smaller so that they can continue their pathway or their journey through the tube into the intestinal tract to absorb nutrients. Because the stomach is moving, or because it's vibrating, it has the ability to drift upwards. And if it drifts upwards, it can get itself caught in that lower esophageal sphincter muscle, essentially disabling the valve. And when that happens, stomach contents, which mostly include acid, will start to reflux or to spit up into the esophagus muscle, and it could potentially create a burning. That acid might travel higher up than the esophagus, all the way up and interfere with the voice box, creating a raspy or a fatigued voice. That acid may find its way all the way up into the mouth, creating an acidic or a metallic taste. Now, because the esophagus is a flexible tube, when you push on it from the bottom, it doesn't compress. Instead, what will happen is it'll bend or it'll kink, and that creates a spot somewhere in the chest cavity. I say somewhere vaguely because it could be a different spot for different people, where we have that bending. And then what happens is we have a spot where food or pills has to make their way around the bend, and they get that spot where I feel like my food gets caught right here. So we could have burning, we could have a raspy, fatigued voice, we could have a metallic taste in our mouths, we could be coughing or choking, trying to get the food contents past the bend or the kink. And we're going to have difficult time digesting and absorbing our nutrients. Now, that's what happens if the stomach comes up into the lower esophageal sphincter. And the way this is typically diagnosed is with what's called an endoscopy, where a camera is put in through the nose and we look down and see for ourselves. And you can visualize a lot of irritation and swelling and inflammation, but you don't get a diagnosis. You just say, it looks really irritated. Let's monitor it. Now, the diagnosis of having a hiatal hernia is based on a very specific landmark. So all these symptoms that I've just described can occur with the stomach piercing through the lower esophageal sphincter muscle. If the stomach comes up just a little bit higher, and we're really talking about a fraction of an inch, it'll pierce through that hole in the diaphragm muscle called the hiatus of the diaphragm. And now we have a hiatal hernia. A hernia means that something has pierced through a place where it doesn't belong. Your earrings have herniated your earlobe. Look very aesthetic, but you weren't born with it like that. So
you sure?
Is what it is. I'm pretty confident.
I woke up like this.
Well, you're very unique in a number of good ways. But
good save.
But anyhow, for those of us,
you have no idea, Doc. You have no idea.
For those of us who wear earrings that weren't actually born with them, our earrings are herniations of our earlobes, as the stomach may herniate through the diaphragm muscle, creating a hiatal hernia. So when that happens, now we have a change in the pressure cavity. Above the diaphragm, we have heart and lungs. So people will start to say, I feel like I'm wearing a belt around my chest. There's a competition for space where our heart and lung lives in their home. So these patients frequently will go to the hospital with chest pain, thinking the worst, and they'll be put through a battery of cardiovascular tests. And the good news is we can't find anything wrong with you. The bad news is we don't know what's going on with you.
That's right. Bad news is you're crazy.
Right. Mm-hmm. So these are the patients. This is literally the most common condition that I see. Before I went to chiropractic school, I worked in a gym. I was a personal trainer, and I'd been a chiropractic patient, and I really liked it, but I didn't know what it was about. And I just thought, we're going to crack a few backs and make people feel good. And maybe I'll have a little office in the gym, and I can adjust people on a weightlifting bench and probably charge a little bit more than the industry average for personal training, because I can offer this as a service. But the evolution of my career was such that in my first term of chiropractic school, I met some very heavy hitters in the chiropractic neurology field, and I followed them, I stalked them, I chased after them, I emailed them, I asked questions, and I was really, really fascinated of all the potential of what could happen as a result of being a chiropractor and what kind of good you can do for people. And in fact, at the time, somebody he was really too far up the ladder for me to call him a mentor. He was more my mentor's mentor. His name is Ted Carrick. And Dr. Carrick at the time in the late 1990s was the only patients he saw were in a coma. So he was literally waking up dead people.
Huh.
But anyhow, here we are 25 years later, practically. And my most common condition that I see are people with a hiatal hernia. So what I do is I make an adjustment to the stomach, that we're putting pressure on the stomach to get it to start vibrating or churning again, and literally pull it out of whichever structures it might be caught in, whether it's the lower esophageal sphincter or the hiatal hernia. And then what we're doing is we're trying to move the stomach down, right? So what we're also going to add to that protocol is we're going to lift the rib cage up. So straight out of the Ted Carrick chiropractic neurology playbook, at the time, the adjustments that he was really focused on were adjusting the rib cage in order to force his patients to be able to breathe deeper and more efficiently. So why not? Let's pull the stomach down, lift the rib cage up, and begin to start creating better respiration and better stomach vibration. And that's the hiatal hernia story. So I hope
let me ask you, Doc,
you're listening.
Let me ask you what now, as you describe this,
Mm-hmm.
Is that why it's more common at night? Because when you're prone, the stomach doesn't have to fight gravity to move up.
I suspect, I think that's exactly true, but I don't have it makes sense physically, but I don't have any solid information to back that up.
All science is theory.
All anecdotal.
All science is theory.
If it's theory, let's run with it until somebody tells us otherwise.
All right, fine. Until someone proves us wrong, we're going with that. Well, that was great, because I know a lot of people suffer from that. And you're right. A lot of people end up in the hospital with chest pains and unnecessary medical bills because they're seeking out an industry that is not meant for chronic care. It's just not. It's acute trauma, and they can't manage disease beyond suppression. Now, there is a place and a time for both of it. You know what I mean? Of course, yeah, absolutely. Chiropractic has been an amazing investment that we made as a family.
Yeah.
And
we have to have an understanding that we're looking for red flags. I mean, before anything else, whether the patient comes in for a hiatal hernia or a sprained ankle or whatever, that's why it's so important to have a conversation with the patient and maybe at some level connect the dots with a few symptoms, and maybe occasionally ask a few questions that would lead to some embarrassing answers. But we have to look for red flags before anything else. And if somebody has, if you're listening to me right now and you're wondering what's going on with yourself, and you're just gathering information, and you feel like you have a belt wrapped around your chest and you have chest pain, I'm not sitting here diagnosing you with a hiatal hernia.
Right.
I'm saying I want you to go to the appropriate medical provider, perhaps the emergency room, and say, I feel like I have a belt wrapped around my chest. I'm experiencing severe chest pains. Once you've had a number of cardiovascular tests that have all come out to say this isn't the problem, let's start investigating the prospects of you having a hiatal hernia. Let's not say, oh, this is what it is, before we even meet, and ignore a potential giant red flag. So that's
still, cardiovascular is still the number one killer, right? So we always have to be careful.
Yes, and I'd like to follow up a little bit more with Joe with your question about why is it worse at night. It seems like virtually everything is worse at night, and when we think about the neurology involved, whether it's going to be a hiatal hernia or a headache or musculoskeletal aches and pains, what happens at night is your senses start to attenuate. There's so much less environmental stimulus, less noise, less light, less intellectual thought. All of these sensory modalities play into a role in your nervous system in order to keep your body excited, to keep your brain firing at a threshold where we can activate. I mean, here's another shameless plug for me. I mean, yesterday we talked about those descending inhibitory pathways that suppress pain. that we're always looking to provide excitation for. Chiropractic adjustments are a big form of exciting those aspects of the brain, but keeping yourself involved and getting all of your senses involved also play a role. And when that's diminished, everything gets worse at night.
Yeah. Well, we have about 9 minutes left, so I want to bring the schedule up for everybody because I know that they're very excited to see who's coming up today. I did post it on the Weiner Wellness page, just in case anybody missed that. So you can find that on Weiner Wellness Facebook page. If you haven't liked that already, please go do that. Share it with a friend, pass the schedule along, tag people. We want to get as much knowledge and education out there. I mean, obviously we have our morning commentary now at 9 a.m. He's coming back. Dr. Gideon Orbach, again, using chiropractic and low-tech strategies to hack your subconscious mind. So this is going to be a good one because this is what you're talking about, right? Sometimes it's the neurology that really gets you. And then we have Jeff Nisnik coming up at 10, 11 o'clock. Mike Gallagher from Nutritional Frontiers, he's talking about DMG, dimethylglycine, does me good. And then our roundtable, and this is you, Dr. Orbach, Candace, and Joe. And you're going to be discussing inflammation and its effect on chronic dis-ease of the body. So this could be anywhere, musculoskeletal, digestive, brain. I mean, and if inflammation's in one place, it's usually in all places. And then 1 o'clock, Jamie Dorley, CEO of Nutritional Frontiers, is coming in to finish it off with, can you see the difference going through vitamin C, why it's vital for your health, the different forms of vitamin C. And he's going to just take away some of the confusion when you're selecting a good quality product. So we have a great lineup, and I'm excited to see how this day unfolds, especially the roundtable. I really want to hear your thoughts, and Joe and Candace, on inflammation and what people can do, because really it's kind of like the backbone of all disease.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm
like
looking
my pun
forward.
there. Nobody got my pun.
We all got it.
We got it, Trace. Yeah.
Well, speaking of
huh?
a great lineup, I'd like to take a minute to highlight the people who work here who really don't get the credit that they fully deserve. Our front desk staff, Lynn, Sonia, Denise, Ashley, and Phil. Every once in a rare while, somebody is double booked, and I about blow my stack. And then I'm like, wait a minute. We have 4 practitioners, sometimes 5. Everybody's busy. We've had 1 double booking this month. These guys are incredible. They're doing a great job. And our front desk staff, when our workshops and our open house and party sales were all live, everybody got a chance to interact with these people when you were checking out. But now it's mostly phone and email and fax orders. So they're not really as front and center as they used to be, but they are just as busy and doing just as good a job as always. Our management team, Brian and Chuck. Brian was the executor for Dr. Weiner's estate. I think the people who all come through here know who Chuck Matthias is. Those guys, I mean, I don't know what kind of rabbits they pulled out of their hats when Dr. Weiner passed in December of 2017, but just the fact that we're even still open is a tribute to the magic that they worked. We think about all the products that are on the shelves. Well, somehow all the right products in the right amounts have to be ordered. They have to be shipped here. They have to be unloaded off of the trucks and stocked in the right places. So Jim is in charge of our logistics. He has Mike, and during our sale and busy times, we borrow a few staff members from Nutritional Frontiers. So Mike is here. Brady, Andrew, Matt, Michelle comes in. Those are people who are just moving product to where, from the boxes and storage to where it belongs, helping people find what they're looking for. Monica is in charge of our shipping. June is in charge of making sure that not just paychecks get out, but also all the bills that it takes to keep a business like this running. The clinical staff, myself, Dr. Honigman, Jeffrey Nisnik, Adam Carwad, Dan comes in from time to time. I don't know what his schedule is with us anymore, but he's a big help with the nutrition. So we have a few people that our clientele knows and who recognize and they see, but it's really the people who are behind the scenes that drive the engine. And I just wanted to make sure that we take a moment, as busy as we are, to acknowledge them and to make sure that they know that the show just doesn't go on without them. So thanks to the behind the scenes people who make it all happen too.
Absolutely. So valuable. And, without them, none of the products ship, none of the appointments get made. So we need them.
Right. Exactly.
So, Joe, do you want to finish up with anything? We have about a couple of minutes, and then we're going to bring back Dr. Orbach for the 9 a.m.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to Jeff's talk. This term he coined, obesogens. I love that. Now, I don't know if he came up with that. If that's a Jeffism, we all have our isms. But if it is, it's an awesome one because it really hits home. And I think this is going to be an amazing talk to identify them. I think a lot of us will know what they are, when he presents them, but a lot of people will not. And they don't know how dangerous and how damaging these obesogens really are. Because like you always say, Tracey, it's not food, it's a food product. Or maybe some of it isn't even a food product, it's just a product. And it didn't promote life. These are the obesogens. And so I'm looking forward to that one because I think he's on to something here. So that could be something good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, it's going to be a great day. Don't forget that you can call in your order. You can email in your order. They will curbside deliver. You can pick it up. They will mail it. We have so many ways that you can participate in this amazing sale, 30 to 50% off everything in the store. Select items, you just need to call in. And Dr. Orbach, would you give us the contact information, please, so everybody knows how to participate?
Well, the best way to get a hold of us is by phone. It's 412-922-933 well, 9355. I'm sorry, did I say 933? I meant 922. I'm sorry.
Strike that. Let's reverse it. Let's start over. Okay, go again. You've only worked there 13 years. Okay.
I don't call often. 412-922 well, 9355. Our fax number, another good way to fax in your order, 412-922-9330. And you can email us at drweiner.com, drweiner.com. We'll look forward to hearing from you.
Excellent.
Tracey,
right.
do I have 30 seconds left to tell a quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great.
You're on at 9 anyway. It's not like you're going to run over your own time.
All right.
Just keep going.
Well, anyhow, I remember my first job interview with Dr. Weiner like it was yesterday. I mean, I could practically give you the transcript. But anyhow, I was living in Virginia at the time, practicing in Alexandria, and home is Pittsburgh. So I came home for July 4th weekend to see my folks, and I arranged to meet Dr. Weiner. We met at a little Indian restaurant in Oakland, which everybody who knows Dr. Weiner knows that that's his favorite. And it was the middle of a Saturday afternoon, so he had to go back to the office to see patients. And I'm at home for a weekend, and I want to spend time with my parents. And I got a few friends, so we budgeted about a half an hour. Anyhow, I think we went for almost 2 hours. And he kept, speaking of calling the office, he kept calling to say how late he was going to be. And I was calling my folks to tell them, oh, I'm running late. And we're talking and just going back and forth about the things that mattered and how he runs his practice and what role I would play and how we can work together and so forth and so forth. Now, I was with a group in Virginia, and it was a high volume clinic, and there were the group had half a dozen different clinics throughout the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area. And we would have staff meetings where all the doctors would get together, and we would have to go over our stats. Stats meaning how many patients did you see that week, who bought supplements, who bought orthopedic support, who canceled, how many hours were you there, how many hours was the support staff there, and we review the stats. And stats were like the bosses, the guy who owned the corporation, like his favorite word was statistic. So it was like, do you have a stat for this? Do you have a stat for this, or a stat for something else? So anyhow, I got that on board. So Dr. Weiner, Dr. Weiner and I are done. And he says to me, Dr. Orbach, do you know why this works so well for me? And I don't know, is this a rhetorical question? I've never even seen your practice. How does it work so well? And we're having this awkward moment, like I'm trying to decide if it's rhetorical. He's waiting for an answer, but he knows that what kind of answer could I possibly give? And I just said, I guess your stats are all in order. And he smiles this huge, as only Dr. Weiner could have done, smile. And he announces to the whole Indian restaurant. I mean, at this point, in the end of lunch, beginning of dinner, it's just the two of us. But if there was anybody else in the restaurant, they would have known that Dr. Weiner just goes, I'm a statistician. And that was one of the best inside jokes that I had with Dr. Weiner. And somebody asked me, another HIPAA violation about to occur. Somebody asked me to tell that story. So there's the story.
That's awesome. Well, he certainly was a character, and I had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, and I didn't get to work with him like you did, but it's awesome to hear stories and memories. And, you know, he really did pioneer out, and it's great that all of you at Weiner Wellness are carrying on his legacy and starting your own legacy, you know, within this industry as well. So thank you for everything you do. Thank you, Weiner Wellness staff, for everything. We are going to come back in a few minutes with your lecture. So I'm going to stop the live stream, but guys, stay tuned. We're going to be coming back on in a few minutes, and Dr. Orbach is going to tell us about some subconscious brain hacks. See you guys.